Hello, welcome to the Humanity Leadership Podcast. I'm David Wheatley, and we're here to talk all things leadership. Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Humanity Leadership Podcast. I was remiss last time because it was our 50th podcast, and I guess I should have celebrated. When I started this, that was my target, was 50. Somebody said that in order to get to 50, you had to do one. And so I started the first one, and it gone on since then. And I know we've changed format recently. I hope that's working for folks. But I was remiss in not having a little shout out to our 50th podcast. So what I'll do is celebrate our 51st podcast instead. Today's short story, if you like, is about an interesting rule from a British comedian called Sarah Millican. And she's a Geordie from the northeast of England. I won't attempt to give you her accent because you may struggle to understand it, many of my listeners in the USA. But she has a rule that she calls the 11 o'clock rule. And it's called Millican's Law. And the idea is, as she says, if you've had a hard gig, it's been quiet, it's been a death, it's a struggle, whatever the gig was, you can only be mad and frustrated and gutted until 11 a.m. the next day. And then you must draw a line under it and forget about it. As going into the next gig thinking that you're crap will mean that you'll die. It won't be good. Equally, if you nail it, if you do really well, you destroy it, whatever, you can only be smug until 11 a.m. the next day. So, and she says that in the past, she's set an alarm so that she could get up and gloat for an extra half hour. As if you go into the next gig thinking that you're God's gift, then you'll die too. This is Millican's Law. And it totally works. And that's coming from a comedy perspective. But I've used it for many years now from a leadership perspective, because as leaders, we can have great successes and we can have wallowing failures. But what we need to do is to have a cutoff point for sitting with that. And the reason I like Millican's Law is it actually gives you the space and the time to gloat or to be miserable. But then it very much makes that time finite. It rules that at 11 o'clock the following day, you have to stop and you have to move on and get ready for the next thing. And normally we would say, hey, just get over it, move on. But I like the fact that she actually gives us some space to say, no, it's okay. You can be really happy or you can be really sad for a period of time. That's not bad emotion to have and express. But then come 11 o'clock the following morning, you better be ready to let that go and get ready to move on to the next thing, because you have to prepare for the next piece. And you have to prepare with that level-headed, balanced mind. Otherwise, if you go in with the success or the failure still working with you, then that's going to impact your ability to be successful next time. And the trend may happen. So that's Millican's Law, Millican's Rule, the 11 o'clock rule. And I'd encourage you as leaders to think about that. And even encourage your team to think about it. So when your team has a great success, do the same with them. Let them celebrate, give them the space. But then at 11 o'clock the following morning, we stop and we move on to the next piece. And the same when it's failed, when it's gone wrong, when something's been a disaster, absolutely gloat, worry about it, do the self-talk. But at 11 o'clock the following morning, we stop doing that and we get ready for the next piece. Feel free to check out Sarah Millican, very funny comedian as well. Sometimes uses a bit fruity language. So if you're not into that, then I wouldn't encourage it. But if you don't mind, and you don't mind to hear some great humor about cakes, then she's worth a listen. Thank you, Sarah Millican, for sharing Millican's Rule and Millican's Law. And I look forward to hearing how people use it from a leadership perspective. Enjoy. You've been listening to the Humanity Leadership Podcast. I'm David Wheatley. And we're brought to you by the book, What Great Teams Do Great, available now at all good bookstores. Thanks to Brian Spencer and Finkel for the music. Please share any feedback and suggestions. I'm available through humanity.com. And go to iTunes, like, subscribe, and leave us a review so that other people can find us. In the meantime, until next time we meet, stay healthy.